Talk about game theory here, Pete. To me, game theory for this one is going to start with the main event and co-main event. And we're going to get into the actual fight aspect of it. But, I don't know if you have the same thought as me. I think the most likely scenario is neither one of these scheduled 5-round title fights actually makes it 5 rounds.
I'm with you. I do think that a finish comes inside the distance in both of them. I do think that you can make a case if it does go 25 minutes, it's pretty likely it's going to be Weili Zhang and an Aljamain Sterling victory, you would think. But I would agree with you. I think that both fights are going to finish inside of 25 minutes. Hopefully, it's not in the third round. And if it is in the third round, hopefully it's with a ton of volume attached to it. So usually you can make the case for the fights being super competitive, and I think it could be competitive, but just based on some technical deficiencies on both sides and kind of in all 4 fighters, if you want to really look at it, a finish is most likely in both of them.
Yeah, I mean, and when I look at the rest of this card, of course, also, Neil Magny stepped up here on basically 7 days notice, replacing Jeff Neal, taking on Ian Gary. And, Ian Gary's always been a guy that I've wanted to fade. I don't know if this is necessarily the option, but obviously a huge price tag that you got to pay for him. I mentioned about this on my podcast yesterday. I said, to me, the reason, the most interesting storyline on the prelims is obviously the return of Chris Weidman. I don't know what to expect out of Chris Weidman. I mean, typically when we see a fighter come back from that type of injury, they're just never the same. And Chris Weidman is 39 years old, but Brad Tavares on the other side, he's not a finisher. I mean, this is a guy that he's been in the UFC since 2010. He's never won a fight night bonus. Take that one in.
That's pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy. I mean, matchups are everything and timing's everything in this game. And, I think from a contrarian standpoint, getting aggressive over Tavares against a guy whose durability is in question, and when he does lose, he gets finished. It makes sense that perhaps the timing is now. I'll probably sprinkle it for a live bet, just from a prop betting standpoint, just because I do think that Weidman's probably far removed from his prime and also recovering from a massive, massive injury. So you would think the stars are aligning for a finish for Brad Tavares, but it could just not happen. And priced at 9,000, I was hoping he was going to be like 8,600, and then I was going to get like super aggressive. I'm like, yeah, I can see it happening, because I do think that Tavares very hard to take down, and is going to be the better striker in this matchup against a guy who's lost a step coming off a long layoff with a major injury. I was going to get aggressive, but at 9,000, it's kind of like, I like other 9,000 options a lot more than him from a finishing standpoint.
One of the questions we got is about ranking the 9K options. I'm just going to tell you right now, Brad Tavares will be the last guy on my list at 9,000. I mean, and look, we'll get more into it, but to me, it's more about the history of Brad Tavares, and maybe just hoping Chris Weidman is going to go lace up them wrestling shoes, as you like to say there. Appreciate the super chat there from Liker, as always, man. I appreciate it, and we'll talk about what Tamon Blackshear is doing here, and obviously that is going to be very interesting as he steps on the scale. One thing, by the way, me and Pete do want to know: do you like the show being on Thursday? You prefer the show being on Friday? Of course, we had to do a show last 2 weeks on Thursday because of my NFL preseason schedule. As I actually head up to New York tomorrow morning, but we do appreciate everyone tuning in. And also, one other thing I'll mention on game theory is I think there's 2 fights that I look at if we're talking about constructing GPP lineups that to me are very critical. One of them is going to be the third fight of the night, and that's Andre Prochazka taking on GM3. That to me, and based on your reaction, you must be feeling the same thing. That is a GPP fight this week.
Yeah, 100%. And I like both guys. Like I like the price tag associated with Prochazka because of his massive takedown upside. He has submission skills as well. This is a guy in the Ultimate Fighter who looks really good, from a wrestling standpoint, and was somewhat of a gasser. It seems like he's kind of, rounded out that game, and, he's a little bit more efficient with things. But I do see some openings for his opponent, GM3, who is super inconsistent and constantly just, undervalued. Everybody thinks like you look at him like he wins fights he necessarily shouldn't. But the one damn thing that he's good at is wrapping up the neck. And if you're leaving that neck out there, as I do see on film, Andre Prochazka does, I can see a GM3 guillotine all day long. And that's like, he's going to be my most aggressive underdog. But on the flip side, I think GM3's really lost a step too. I mean, he got absolutely schooled against Joe Pyfer, who's a very dangerous fighter on the feet, in addition to being a very talented grappler. Petroski has the tools to win this fight. It's just if he goes out there and is inefficient at any moment and has any lapse, you can see a GM3 round 2, round 3 submission happen all day long. So I'm going to be aggressive on both, and I do think that this fight is pivotal for this slate.
The other GPP fight for me is I'm going to go to the fight that will be right before Tavares and Weidman, and that is Rodriguez and Dennis. Just because of, I mean, look, I don't know how much you want to trust RoboCop in terms of if he doesn't lace up those grappling shoes and he decides to have a little bit of striking match, because I feel like if Dennis is going to pull off the upset, it is him knocking out Rodriguez probably early in the fight. So that to me, those are the two fights in terms of a GPP lineup construction that are going to be priorities to me. But obviously, you look at Rodriguez, he's at 9,500. There's other high-end 9,000 options I would prefer to get to over him.
I think it could be a very easy fight for, Gregory Rodriguez. Like, it's a very easy fight. He goes out there, he shoots a takedown, he takes the back, he chokes out Dennis Tululin. Easy. The issue is he's a grappler who's fallen in love with his hands. And for whatever reason, I don't know if he's just hunting bonuses, and that's why he's just constantly willing to engage in a striking matchup. But like he's not using his best skills out there. He's a fantastic striker, but his durability is in question. Sometimes he gets hit and he has an off switch. And if Dennis Tululin is going to do anything, he's going to throw bombs trying to knock you out, because his grappling and it's mainly his jiu-jitsu. It's lacking. And it's lacking so much that Gregory Rodriguez can make this such an easy fight. But he tends to make you sweat a little bit if you put money on him. So I was hoping he was going to be like 9,000 or 9,100, and then I can make the argument of getting to him over some other 9,000 options. But I think that he wins this fight 9 out of 10 times. It's just a matter of if he's stupid or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing in mixed martial arts, and that's why I think it's one of the most unpredictable DFS sports out there, just because of, as we always talk about, one punch, one takedown can really change everything. But